Hey ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my first online webinar. The topic we will be handling in today's webinar is how to create, maintain, and also transact within your customers. Firstly, we would just like to thank you for taking the time to attend today's webinar. Just some formalities before we get started. Everyone is muted so that there are no interruptions during the webinar and so that can be heard by everyone. Please feel free though to address any questions in the question box on your screen, and we will revert to you either during the webinar or after. As mentioned, what we're going to do is we're going to have a look today at working with your customers. So this is from a point of creating your customers, then to a point of where you actually start transacting within those customers. So if you go to your customer, once you've logged into your actual company, you'll see your tab on top, Home, Quick Views, and Customers. You'll then simply go to Customer List of Customers. So this is where you'll go and create all your customers. Okay, once you go and select those list of customers, you'll see a list of all your customers below on the screen. Alternatively, if you haven't set up any customers as yet, that screen will be blank. And what you'll need to do is you'll simply say add customer on the top left hand side, and this is the point where you'll actually go and put in all those details. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set up a customer. You'll put in the customer's name, category. So what we've done is we've put in categories. If you want to make the categories for your reporting purposes, you can in fact go and set that up. So whether you're doing it on your customer list and customer categories, alternatively you can also just simply say add new category and put in that description. From there you simply say save and that category will be in there. You've then also got your opening balance. So if you are moving from an existing system or you're manually capturing and this customer has a balance already, what you will do is you'll then put in what they owe you today. If it's a brand new customer, then there won't be a balance as yet. You'll then also have the opening balance date, so when that is applicable for. On the top right-hand side, you'll also have an active option. So is this an active customer or isn't it? If you deselect that option, what will happen is if you do try and transact on that specific customer, the system will tell you that this person isn't active, but it will allow you to continue processing if you wish. Okay, then you've also got a credit limit. So if you've agreed upon with your customers that you will give them a credit limit of 5,000 Rand, what will happen is you'll actually enter that on the system. As you are transacting in the system and your processing exceeds that 5,000 Rand, the system will then notify you that the person has exceeded the limit, and you'll then have an option to continue or otherwise. But that's the point where you can phone the client to tell them they need to make payment before another invoice can be done. Then you've got your tax reference, so this is the VAT number of that specific customer. Then there's also an accept electronic invoices. So the means of communication between you and your customer is going to be via email and so forth. I would suggest that you select that so that you can actually email those invoices through to your customer. Then below that you've got the auto allocate receipts to oldest invoices. So this basically means if you tick that option, what will happen is when you receive a payment from a specific customer, do you want the system to allocate that payment to the last outstanding invoice? So let's say you have 5 different outstanding invoices with X values. So do you want the system to go to the last outstanding one and deduct that amount or say? Or alternatively, if you remove that tick, then you are telling the system that you want to actually go and allocate that specific receipt that you've received. So let's say in some cases your customer just paid you random amounts every now and again. You can then go and tell the system to actually just deduct it off their balance, or alternatively, if they pay you amounts for specific invoices, you will then go and allocate it. Okay, so it depends on the type of customers that you work with. Okay, then below that you'll have in the contact details for the postal information that you can actually put in. Okay, then also delivery address, and you'll see we've given an option where numerous delivery addresses can be selected. So if your customer has an office, let's say in Victoria, Joburg office, Cape Town and Durban, you can actually go and set those up. You'll then see that you also have a map option, so you can actually link up this delivery address to Google Maps. So what happens is, because you can access it from your mobile devices, so whether it be an Android device or your iPhone, you can simply from there just click on the address and the system will navigate you through to the relevant customer's address. Then on the right-hand side, you've got your contact name, so the relevant person that you need to contact on that customer site, email address, telephone number, mobile number, fax, web address, and then quite an important one there is the statement distribution. So are you planning to make use of statements? So this means, are you going to send out a monthly statement or either a quarterly statement to give the customer a complete breakdown of what they owe you, what has been paid so far, and what the outstanding balance is. You can then simply indicate how do you want this to be distributed. So do you want it to be printed? So all of those, and from there you can post it through to the customer, or do you want it to be emailed? So this will then be emailed straight off to the customer's email address, or do you want to have the option of both, of printing and emailing it? Okay, so quite an important one, have a look when you are filling this up. If you do select email, ensure that there is an email address in the block and that it is the correct email as well. Okay, then you've got your activity tab, which won't be available initially on a new customer, and once you start working within that customer, you will then have that activity tab. But I'll show you as I go to another active customer after this. Okay, so I'm actually just going to go to the next one. So if I have a look at one of the existing customers, I've got all that information in there. If I have a look at the activity tab, I can then see what adjustments have been made, what opening balances, tax invoices, customer returns, customer receipts, and then also customer write-offs. So what's great about this is I can view details. So if I want to see what the breakdown is of the customer returns, I can simply go to detail. Once I select that detail option, I'll see that there are 2 credit notes. And I can actually even click down to the point where I can see, what was entailed in that specific credit note. And then I can also see which invoice it was linked to. Okay, so now I've got that type of information. I can then go back. Okay, so you've got your activity tab there. As I said, only becomes available once you start transacting within that customer. Then you've got your additional contacts. So if you've got different points that you need to contact when phoning the customer, so an accounts person, a salesperson, the manager, and so forth, you can also put in their details. You then also got a note facility, so where you can post notes for the customer. So if you want to put in a reminder to phone a specific person to place an order or to follow up on payment, you can in fact do that. And what will happen is that will populate under your to-do list on the home, so the dashboard screen. So just to give you an example, I will actually go and set up a note. From there I can also add an attachment, maybe the statement. I can simply just say add, browse for that statement and attach it. I can from there simply just say save. Once I've selected save, if I go to that dashboard screen, I'll then see under my to-do list, there will be 1 customer note or 7 overdue customer notes. And from there I can actually browse and go and see exactly what that is. Okay, and what you can do is you can simply just view the detail of it. Once you view the detail of that, you can also action it. So once it has been actioned, you can simply say complete, and from there you can say save. Okay, so that's on the note side, and at any point you can go back into the customer and add notes as you start capturing on the system. Okay, so we've got notes, and we've also got user-defined fields. So these user-defined fields are purely there to use for additional information. So what you'll do is under the company tab, so you've got the company tab there, under user-defined fields, you will have the option to set up user-defined fields. So as an example, I'm running a medical practice, and it's quite important for me to also have the customer's medical aid number, also who the medical aid is, and so forth. From there, I will then go and change where my tax value says type of customer to where it says medical aid number. And that is all done under company user defined field, so you can set it up there. So just a field where you can actually put in more information. You've then got your sales graph, so you'll get a breakdown between, well, a comparison between last year and this year. You can then also click down on this specific graph. So if I want to see what happened in December, I can from there click down on December. I can then have a look on the date breakdown as well, to a point where I can actually view that invoice. Then I'll also have my quotes. I can see all quotes that have been made out to the client. And then also unpaid invoices. Just what the system will do is it will actually run now and go and have a look for all the unpaid invoices for the specific customer. That will then populate on the screen. And from there you can actually select all as well and either print all those invoices or otherwise email those invoices. Okay, so that is setting up your customer. So initially it's just going to be purely putting in the information, but as soon as you get to the point once you start transacting within this customer, you'll then be able to see what the activity is like within this customer, what the sales looks like, how much they still owe you, what quotes are still outstanding, and so forth. Okay, so if you ever want to go in and actually change any details or put in any details, you'll simply go customer, list of customers. You'll then see an edit and delete option. You will simply then go edit. That will then open up that customer where you can go and put in more information. Note when it comes to deleting, if the customer does have a balance to it, you cannot delete that customer. Okay, so just take a note of that. Okay, then as I said, under the list, you've also got customer categories. So you can set up the numerous categories here. So simply just say add category. So specifically if you want to put them each in their own category for reporting purposes. Okay, so we've had a look now at creating the customer and also populating that information. The next we're going to have a look at is actually transacting within this customer. So to do that, you'll go customer transactions. You will then see that there's customer quotes. So what we've done is we've put in quotes. This is optional though. So if you don't make use of quotes in your actual system, you then do have the option to go straight to a tax invoice. So I'm going to go and set up a quote in my business online. So you'll see throughout the system, just before we go into that, is you'll see the listing is very much all the same. So you've got your list of transactions, same list transactions on your supplier side and then also on your banking side. So on the customer side, we take you from a point of quotations, tax invoices, recurring, returns received, to the point where we actually can write off that customer. Okay, so what we're going to do, and I'll show you as we start running through the system how everything works in concurrent with one another. So once I've generated a quote, I can convert that into tax invoice and so forth. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll have a look at the quotes now. From there I can simply say add quote. You'll then go drop down and select your specific customer. Note if you haven't set up any of your customers as yet, you can simply just say add new customer, put in the information, from there select save. And that will then add that customer for you. Alternatively, you drop down and then select to your relevant customer again. From there you'll see the balance, also document number. You'll then see your customer reference. So if you have been provided a PO from your customer, you can in fact then go and put that in. You'll then also have your tax reference number, credit limits if applicable, and then also the date. So the actual date today, and then what is the expiry date. So when is that quote due? Then you'll see that there's also a discount option. So this is an overall discount on the actual quote. And you've also got a line discount. So you'll see within that transaction there's also a line discount. And then from there you've got your delivery address and postal address. So this all populates from what you've set up initially on the customer. And you'll see if you drop down, you then have the option to select the numerous addresses. So delivery address 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so once I've selected my customer, I will simply go and indicate, am I going to use the excluding a price or do I want to use inclusive? And you can simply do that by just ticking that box and you'll be able to work with inclusive price. You also have the option then to use last quote details. So if you want to bring up the information that you processed previously because it might be similar, you can in fact do that. Okay, but in this case, we are going to start them from scratch and actually set up an invoice. So you can either select item or account. So on the item side, which you'll set up either your product or service. And especially if you want to keep track of all those physical items of yours, you can in fact, it would be advised to run it as an item. Then on the account side, so if you do want to run it on the account side, you can in fact do that. So you'll simply just go and set up an account and link that to one of the categories. Okay, from there you've got your description. So I'm going to select my item. I'm going to drop down and go and select my description. I'm then also going to put in my quantity. And then if there's any discounts applicable. Okay, so what I can also do now is if you have a look on the left-hand side, there's a folded edge piece of paper. I can from there also click down and add a note. So quite great if you're running a service-based business and you need to give a breakdown of completely how many hours are spent on a certain thing and so forth. So in my case, I'm working with a physical item, so I'm going to give a description. So one item will be blue, so one of the pumps, one will be pink, and one of them will be green. Okay, so I've put in that information now for my quantity. It's very much optional, but it is just a field where you can put in as much information as you'd like. Okay, and then if you want to set in another item, you can simply just click on that. I can select that item, quantity, and so forth. And at any point, if you want to add another line, you simply just click on the green plus sign, or alternatively, if you want to delete a line, you simply just click on the red minus. Okay, then from there you've got your message as well. So this is a default message that you would set up on your company settings. Alternatively, you can also set up numerous messages. If you have a look at the A option, you can simply click on there. From there, you can have as many messages as you'd like. So if I want to set in a message, I can simply just say select. I can then see exactly what all details are there. So thank you, a bit of terms, and my banking details as well. You can also select this as your default message. And if you're coming here and you want to make changes, you can simply click on that and then from there click the relevant information. Okay, once that's done and you've created your quote, you can simply say save, otherwise save a new, and another screen will come up for you to set up a new quote. Alternatively, save and print or save and email. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on save and print. So what the system will do is it will save it now, and it's also going to then bring a copy onto the screen of exactly how the quote will look. Okay, so I'll then see my logo there, also all my company information, document number, also that customer's information, and then also a description. So you'll see there that I've got my breakdown of all the relevant items there, and then also my message at the bottom. Okay, from there I'll be able then to, so this tab will always be there. I'll have the option to either email it, print it, or otherwise save it. Okay, so that is on a quote side. The next we're going to have a look at is your tax invoices. So I can simply go into my tax invoice. I can from there, I'll see a listing of all my tax invoices. I can simply say add tax invoice. From there, drop down. So you'll see the screen is very much the same as a quotation. The only difference is you're producing a tax invoice. So I can drop down, go and select the relevant customer. I'll then see all the information populate again. And from there, you'll see that there's an option from quote or recurring invoice. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to link up that quote that I generated. The system will ask you, you are linking this quote to the tax invoice, would you like to remove it from the original quote? So if you want to keep it as a quote because you know it might come up in another week, alternatively you can simply completely remove it. So I've completely removed it on my side. Okay, and from there I will be able to see, and you'll also see that that note is still within that certain item. So now I've linked up that quote and it's ready to process. Let's say there might be a bit of a change and the client might want 2 of my carbon tubes. From there I can increase the quantity and I can simply post and email it, otherwise print a delivery note as well. So you've got your process option, process and new, process and print, process and email, and then also print a delivery note. So if you are making use of external couriers and you don't want them to really see what the costs are and so forth, you can simply just say print delivery note. On that delivery note, it's going to list your specific item description and then also what is the quantity. Okay, so there I've got what is my item description, what is the colors, what is the quantity, and then also right at the bottom an option where the person can sign, also name and date, so who will the receive by. And you'll see throughout this, as long as you upload your logo, you'll have it on each and every page. Okay, so if you're not making use of the quotation at all, you can simply just go to customer transactions, tax invoice. If you're going exactly to the same place, the only difference is you are not linking it up to any recurring invoice. So we have selected it. You are simply just going, selecting your item, so your customer. From there, you are going and entering the specific item. Once that's done, you'll simply just say process, and new, process, and otherwise process an email. So what I'm going to do is process an email in this case. Okay, and from there, it will bring up the following screen where it will pull through the email address that's been entered on the master file. I then also have an option to CC and BCC as well for this email. And then it will have the subject and also attachments. You can then also type in a message. So, good day, please see invoice attached, regards, and so forth. And you can simply just email that report off and that will then be sent off to the relevant customer. Okay, so the next one we're going to have a look at is recurring invoices. So when it comes to setting up recurring invoices, this is in the case of where you have something that happens on a regular basis. So this means you're invoicing something, whether it be on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a fortnightly basis, or monthly basis. Each and every time, that invoice is exactly the same. And this is why we've put in a recurring invoice. So this makes it easier. Instead of going and recapturing that invoice, you can in fact come and set it up. So what you'll do is you'll go and select the relevant customer. So especially if you've signed a contract with one of your customers to agree that you will deliver a certain amount of items each and every month, you can then go and set up a recurring invoice and then also indicate that it's for that year that you'll be actually delivering that item. Alternatively, you're running a club and each and every year there are annual fees that the customers need to pay you. You can also then go and set that up. Let me show you how that's done. You'll simply go and select the customer, put in a reference if applicable, also an overall discount. And then from there you'll enter start date. So when is this applicable for? So if it's for the end of the month, or the first of the month, I can indicate that. I can also then indicate what is the frequency. So is it every month, every week, and so forth? And then I can also put an end date to that. So when does this need to end? Okay, so I've indicated 2016. Then I also have a due date for payment. So is it 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? So whatever you agreed upon with this customer, will they need to make payments after 90, 60 days, and so forth? You'll then actually stipulate that. Okay, then you've got the quite important one there is how do you want this invoice to be created? So as a draft means when you log into the system, you will have, and that invoice is due, the system will actually tell you you have one new message. From there, you will have an option to open up that invoice and process it off. Alternatively, your second one that you've got is automatically. So what's great about the system is because it's online, you are able to, so whether you log in or not onto the system, that invoice will be sent on behalf of you. So let's say I decide to go on a holiday for a certain amount of months. I know that that invoice will be sent on a specific date that I've indicated. So if automatically it will go off, you can also then CC yourself in that email as well. And then you also have an option where you can actually set up an email signature. So from here I can say click here. I can then put in my email signature and from there simply say, okay, so what will happen is every time that email goes off, that information will be there. Okay, and then the setup is exactly the same as your quote and invoice. So this is the point where you're going to select what's the item, what is the quantity thereof, and so forth. So remember, recurring invoices is done if your invoice is exactly the same. So whether it be every day or every month or every year and so forth, you will actually go and set this up. If there's changes in your invoice each and every month or every time you invoice this customer, then you won't make use of a recurring invoice and you'll just set up a normal invoice. Okay, so just note those differences between an invoice and then the recurring invoice. Okay, so the next one we're going to have a look at is customer returns. So also known as your credit notes. So let's say one of your customers return one of the items, you will from there need to create the credit. So what's great is if you have set up an invoice, you can actually link up that invoice to the credit note. So what I can do is I can go and select one of the customers. I can then go and put in what is the customer reference, if applicable, and then the important one there is from which invoice. So I can then go and select today's invoice as my option. And then what will happen is all that information will appear there. So let's say there might have been a return of one item. I will simply remove that option. So all you're keeping on this credit note is just what you are returning. So everything that the customer has kept and so forth, you will remove from that invoice. Okay, so if there was one faulty item, I can simply then go and put in what the quantity is. Once that's done is I can simply then post a new post and print, or otherwise post an email. And note on the side, you will always have the option where you can actually put in a message. Okay, so once that's done, you can simply then just process that credit note or customer return. Okay, so the next one that we're going to be looking at is customer receipts. So take note with a customer receipt. So if you are making use of the bank manager, so that means you're importing a bank statement, otherwise you are manually capturing your bank statement, you will not make use of customer receipts due to the fact that you will be duplicating it. So a customer receipt is purely an indication that you have received money from a specific customer, so in payment towards their balance or what they owe you. If you are, so on the banking side, you are going through a transaction, you are processing bank and credit cards, alternatively you are importing it or manually feeding it in, you're already creating that receipt because you are allocating it to the customer. You will not then make use of your customer receipts. If you're not making use of the banking side, then yes, you will actually come and set that up. And what I want to do is I just want to show you exactly how that looks, just so you can get an indication. So if I go simply add receipt here, I go and select the relevant customer. I'll then see there's the balance. And from there I'll be able to put in what is the receipt amount. Okay, so the specific customer pays 5,000 Rand. I can put in a reference, also what bank account it was made to. I can then put in what is the description, what is the comment, what is the date, and also how was this payment made. So I can then from there say cash. Okay, so once that's done is I can simply say process, otherwise I've got all those options to print it or otherwise email it. Okay, so now you'll see I'll have my payment. If I am to, on the banking side, also import my bank statements or manually capture it, the following will happen. So I'll go to my receipts tab, I'll put in my description, whichever that might be. From there I'll go and indicate exactly what it is, the customer. From the selection I can drop down and go and select that customer. So I'll then go and put in what the amount is. Okay, so if I process that now, and I go back into my customer transaction, customer receipts, you'll then see that you have two transactions there. Okay, so that's why I'm saying it will duplicate if you are working on the banking side. I would assume that everyone is working on the banking side because, and if not, have a look into it because it is quite an easy way to actually just import that bank statement and allocate it. If not, you can simply just go on the means of adding the receipts and putting in that information. Okay, so the next one we'll have a look at is allocating receipts. So you'll note right in the beginning of this webinar, we're having a look at when setting up a customer, there was an option where you could tick a box to allocate to the oldest receipt. So if you remove that tick to the box, that means you're telling the system that you want to allocate that payment. Okay, so what you'll simply do is you'll go and select your allocate receipts, go and select who the customer is. What will happen is the following will come onto your screen. On your left-hand side, you'll have all the invoices that have been sent to the client. On the right-hand side, you will all have all the receipts, credit notes, and so forth. Okay, so what you need to do is from here, you need to allocate it. So this means simply selecting a certain transaction and dragging it across. Okay, so this is how your allocation then will occur. Okay, so you'll simply just drag across until all of this is done. So let's say in the case where you've allocated a certain transaction, you've saved it. What you've noticed now is, oh gosh, okay, so I'm going to actually delete that duplicate that I've done there. But you've noticed that you allocated a payment incorrectly to the wrong customer and you need to go correct it. You can in fact go and do that by simply going to your customer transaction, go to your allocate receipts, go and select the relevant customer. And you'll see that there's an option where to show outstanding only. You can from there simply remove that tick, and what will happen is even those balances that are paid off, you can actually go and view. So you can drop down then and see that there's a payment there. You can simply remove it. So you're simply dragging across the transaction, you're dropping it back into the right-hand side. So now you'll see that is unallocated now again. And then from there you can simply go into your banking side and change where you allocated that payment to, or that receipt to. Okay, so that is on the allocating receipt side. Then you've got your customer write-off. So something we don't really want to happen within our business, but sometimes it does happen where we receive a letter and we have to write off one of the customers. You'll simply go add write-off. You'll go and select who the relevant customer is. Once you select that relevant customer, the balance will also appear. And then from there, all that will be required from your side is to either tick all the invoices that are outstanding. So as an example, I'll simply tick that. That is the amount now. From there, I can put in the description, which I would advise on indicating exactly, why was this amount or this specific customer written off. From there, you can simply process it. So what's great about the system is you don't have to go and process any journals. The system is doing everything for you underneath. So it's allocating it to all the correct financial statements and so forth. So automatically, when you do a write-off, it will take it through as a bad debt and allocate that for you. Because once it's done, you'll simply say process. And you will then have that write-off of the customer. If you've made a mistake, don't worry, you can simply delete it and that write-off will then be removed. Okay, so the next one we'll have a look at is customer adjustments. Okay, so what we've done is we've put in this adjustment, so this is like posting a journal, traditionally called that. But this is if you want to make any difference to your customer's balance. So either increasing or decreasing the balance without having to generate an invoice. So the case where you'll have to do that is, let's say you've allowed a bit of discount. So settlement discount for the relevant customer if they pay within a certain period. From there you can actually go and process the customer adjustment, or alternatively, you've charged interest to this specific customer because they haven't made payment as yet. You can simply then go say add customer adjustment, go and select who the relevant customer is. Then you can go and indicate, so are you increasing or decreasing the balance? So what I'm going to do in this case, I'm going to say increase. I'm also going to say what is it affecting. So this is interest received. I'll then put in a reference if applicable, and then also what is the amount that will be charging for the interest. So I'll be charging them 500 Rand for the interest, and then I've got the date as well. So what I can simply do is just process this. So now what will happen is that balance of that specific customer will now increase by 500 Rand for the interest received. Okay, and same thing if you want to decrease it, you'll simply say decrease. And you'll see the accounts that you are selecting, the buy affects account, is under your account here. So if you don't see an account listed there, you can simply say add new account on that listing, and then go and put in that information, link it to the correct category. And you'll see that we get an indication of what that category as well means. And from there you can simply save it. So just get advice before actually linking up a category, if you are unsure, just to make sure, because this does affect your financial statements. Okay, so that is then on the adjustment side. So what we've done is we've had a look at your quotation. So the optional quotations that you can make use of, also tax invoice. So where you can actually also produce a delivery note for your customers as well. Then recurring invoices, so something that is consistent the whole time, so the same type of invoice. Instead of recapturing you can actually go and set that up. Then you've got your customer returns, also known as credit notes. And then your receipts. Take note of on the receipt side, if you are making use of the banking, importing a bank statement, you will not need to do a customer receipt. Then allocating those receipts as well, any write-offs, and then also customer adjustments. Okay, the next one we're going to have a look at is reports. The main one there is customer statement run. So let's say once a month you need to actually send out the statements to your customers. This can be done by simply going into your customer statement run, selecting the range of customers that you want to send it for. If you want to send it for everyone, you'll simply leave it as deselected. You'll then go and indicate your range. So if I want to send the entire year, so I want to see on a page what has been invoiced, what has been paid, and so forth for that year, I can actually go and indicate it. And there I've got my date. I can even drop down and select a custom date where I can select the date that I want to process it. You've then got an option to show zero balance accounts. So if you want to send out the statements to your customers who don't owe you anything, you can in fact do that as well. Then also show a balance brought forward. So an issue when you loaded the customers, you put in a balance. Do you want that to also appear there? Then exclude fully allocated invoices. So you want only the statement to indicate what has not been paid as yet, so what invoices haven't been paid. And then also show details, so just see item line details on the actual statement. Okay, so once that's done and you've selected the different options, if you do, then you simply just go next. So once you select next, it's going to give you an option. So in the beginning of the webinar, when we were setting up the customer, there was that statement distribution option. So where you have the option then to select whether you want to print the statement, whether you want to email, and so forth. And this is where you actually go and set it up. So you can choose either to print all statements, otherwise print and email as per customer settings. So those customer settings refers to on your customer, so where you actually create your customer. What is that set up there? If I want to do both, I can simply indicate that. Otherwise, I can just email all, or otherwise print all of them, or otherwise you can just print all statements, irrespective of what their customer setting is. Okay, so you have an option then to also CC someone in that, and then also a message. So if I want to say statements for June 2013, I can in fact put that information in there. I can put a message as well. From there, simply say next. On the next screen, it will simply give me an indication of how many statements were printed and how many statements were emailed. So you'll have a good idea if you've got 50 customers and 25 were emailed, 25 were printed, you know that everyone has received their statement. If you're missing one, then it means either their setting on the actual master file has not been correctly indicated. So this is, you'll simply do it under customer list of customers. If you go edit on that specific customer, you'll see at the bottom here, it's got your statement distribution. This is where you drop down and indicate how you want to process that. Okay, so the next one we'll have a look at is list of customers. So this is just a report listing all your customers. So just a point, if you set up categories, you can in fact go and print out according to those categories. So you can also view either summary or detailed. So detailed being viewing all the information, seeing the user-defined fields, you can simply just say view. From there I can see what is the delivery, postal, also any user-defined fields, and so forth. And you'll see on all your reports you will always have the above screen. So you'll have an option to either email it straight from there, print it from there, or otherwise save it into one of the different formats. Okay, then you've got your sales by customer. So from here you can go and indicate your date range. So if I want to see per quarter, current quarter. And remember, you can always backdate with this information. So because you can process unlimited previous years on the system, you can always go back and go and select previous year data to have a look. You can then include customer returns as well, and then also view detailed or summary. So I can simply just say view, report. I will then see my customer and all those invoices, and also what is the certain thing that I might have invoiced them for. So I'll see invoice, that certain invoice, and those are the items. I can then see my next customer and also what they purchased, what was the invoice, what was the value, and so forth. Okay, then the next one, you'll also have customer balance, days outstanding. So this is like your age analysis, where you can see exactly who owes you money. So if I go to that view screen, and who is on a 60-day, 120-day, and so forth. So you can actually print this out, and then follow up with your customers to ensure that you receive that payment. Okay, you've got your customer statement. So a bit different to the statement run. This is specifically if you want to print out one certain customer individual, or alternatively for your own use, you want to print them all out. So you're making sure when you email that you are emailing it to yourself. So there is a difference between the statement run. When you're doing the statement run, it sends it to each one of the different customers. If in this case you're printing it out, alternatively you're sending one specific statement to a specific customer, alternatively for your own use. Okay, so just to give you an idea of how that statement looks, I'm going to then select a yearly option, current year. I'll then show details. I will then view that report. And I'll just wait for that report to appear. From there I'll have then my logo, also the details, and then exactly what invoices, what receipts have been paid, what is the amount due, what is the amount paid, and so forth. The next one we're going to have a look at is customer transactions. You can then go and select your date range. Okay, from there you can see exactly that's the specific customer, that is the invoices, that is the receipts, and so forth. So very much similar to your actual statements. Okay, and then the next one we'll look at is customer invoices. You can select your date range as well. And as I mentioned, if I want to go and select a year, I can then drop down and go and select previous years as well. You can also then go and select if I just want one specific customer, I can from there go and view that specific customer only. Okay, so from there I'll have a complete breakdown of what were the invoices, what were the credit notes, and so forth. And what's great about the majority of your reports, you'll actually see that there's a hand mark actually hovering over the page. You can in fact click down on that, and that will give you a complete breakdown of the invoice as well. Okay, so there you'll have that invoice on your screen, and you'll have those details. Okay, so the majority of your reports you will see that you can actually drop down. So what's great about this is you don't have to go and print out another report. You can simply click on that and see exactly what makes up that certain amount on that report. Okay, and then you've also got an email sent to customers, so you can keep track of exactly when were emails sent, what date. So if I go on that view report, I can see exactly where was it sent from, so who was the username, also who was it sent to, what was that person's email address, and what was the time as well. And you've got your dates. Okay, so you can keep track of did you send it, didn't you send the email, and so forth. Then you've got your special. So this special is to adjust opening balance. So initially when you set up that customer, you put in the balance. So you're telling the system, this customer owes you 500 Rand. So if you created a new customer, you won't have a balance. But if you've moved from another system or you manually keep track of it, that customer might have owed you an amount. But what could have happened is you went through your financial statements and so forth, and you realized that the certain customer doesn't owe you that amount, it was actually less, or either it was more. From there, you'll need to drop down, actually go and select who that customer is, and from there, you can actually go and change. So instead, let's say it wasn't a 3, it was rather a 2. You can from there process that and simply just say save, and that update will be done. Just once you save it, it will require a reason, and you can then put in whatever the reason is. And make sure you do put in that reason so you can keep track of exactly why that adjustment was made. Okay, you can simply then just save it. Okay, so what we've done now is we've had a look at creating your customer, doing transactions within your customer, viewing your reports, and making any adjustments. What we're going to have a look now as well is if you have a look on your home screen, you have a customer dashboard. So we've had a look at all these reports and so forth. And what's great is we've actually provided a dashboard screen. So this means you don't have to go and print out all that information and make sense of it. You can simply just come to your dashboard. From there, have a look at what your settings are, how many customers you want to see. So if I want to see 10 of my customers, I can simply just view the settings, save the settings. I can view it in a pie chart. Alternatively, I can also view it in a listing. So if I have a look there, I've got a listing of all my customers, otherwise a pie chart. And with this, you can see exactly, okay, great. Road Bikes United, they're my biggest customer. I can click down on them, even view all those invoices, to the point where I can actually view the detail of the invoice. Then I've also got my customer balance days outstanding. You can put settings in there as well. You can click down on your 120 days, exactly what is entailed there. Then you've also got your top customer by sales. Because you can see who you're making the most sales to. You can drop down on them, and as well, follow up. Let's say there's one specific customer and their sales are quite low. You can click on that, drop down, and see exactly what invoices are done. And then you'll see on the right-hand side just all the reports that we ran through now. Okay, so that is on the dashboard screen. It's quite a quick facility that you can use. Instead of going and printing out this report, you can simply go and print this out. Well, you can come view this information to see exactly what is the status, who's your top, who owes you the most, and so forth. Okay, then what's great is, especially if you're working on a tax invoice and you don't want to go off that page, we've also set up a quick view option. So this means you can go to quick view customer. So let's say I'm not sure if someone else has set up this invoice as yet, and during me setting up the invoice, I've already put in all the information. Instead of me losing all that information by having to go back and search for it, I can simply go to my quick view. It's a screen that will populate above my current page, and from there I can go and select to the relevant customers. I can see what their balance is, their email address, how many quotes are outstanding and stuff. I can also see what are the recent transactions. Then you've also got your sales history, where you can do a comparison between last year and this year, and you can click down and view exactly what everything was entailed in that specific day. You can click down to a point where you can actually view that invoice. You can also then run the customer statement for that specific customer and also customer sales. You can view the days outstanding, see which invoices are outstanding. Then you've got your different graphs as well, so you can view all unpaid invoices, where you can select all of them and print those invoices and also email those invoices. And then also all transactions that were done on that specific customer, and then also any outstanding quotes. So as you'll see there, it does indicate that there's 2 outstanding quotes. From there you can view that the 2 quotes. Okay, so once I've done, I can have a look, has that tax invoice been done, hasn't it? Once that's done, I can simply close it and either continue or otherwise close that tax invoice. Okay, so just the screen above your current screen, so you won't lose any information. Okay, so we've reached the end of today's webinar. I'd just like to thank you for attending. And I hope to see you at our next webinar. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.